Hi everyone, welcome to Panthera's Paranormal Odyssey. This channel is for people that love all things paranormal. I will talk about topics such as hauntings, urban legends, cryptids, stories, and a whole lot more. There will be my own personal experiences along with viewer features. If you have a topic that you'd like to recommend, just email me. My address is below and I'd love to hear from you. So let's start today's Odyssey. Today I have 3 stories that are urban legends with women being the main character. The Ghost of La Parva Ski Resort. Throughout Latin America, you'll hear variations of the story of La Llorona, or the Wailing Woman. Sometimes she's lost her husband, sometimes she's lost her children, sometimes it's both. But in La Parva, a ski spot in the Chilean Andes, the Wailing Woman is named Lola, and everyone in the area swears they knew her before she died. A local restaurant owner said he dated her. A pro skier named Drew says that the ski patroller he heard the story from pointed at the exact hut where this tale takes place. The story starts on a nice day in peak ski season. Lola and her young son plan to spend the day on the slopes. As can happen in the Andes, a thick fog rose up from the valley, which often precedes the arrival of a real storm. The clouds enveloped the two as they were making their way down from the top of the mountain, and they lost contact with each other, Drew says. Desperate to find her son, Lola began screaming his name as she ran through the thick fog. Unable to see clearly, though, she stumbled down a steep slope and began sliding toward a rock. By chance, a local lift operator who was returning to his cabin came across her body. He was afraid she was dead, but on closer inspection, he found she was still alive, just barely. Her body was covered in lacerations from sharp rocks, and the only word she said in the faintest whisper was her son's name. The lift operator worked to carefully pull her body to his cabin, which was just up the hill. He bandaged her cuts as best as he could and then ran to fetch the doctor. Together, the doctor and lift operator made their way back to his hut, the fog hanging thickly in the air. When they arrived, though, the bed was empty. Just the bloody sheets remained. Neither the woman nor her son were ever found, but locals report hearing her wail for her child whenever they're near that lift operator's cabin. And here's the thing, Drew does not believe in ghosts. Something, however, changes when he arrives in Chile each winter. Maybe it's the fact that from La Parva you could see up to Cerro Plomo, an Incan child sacrifice site. Maybe it's because he has simply read so many magical realism books by authors like Juan Rulfo and Gabriel Garcia Marquez. But sitting alone in his cabin in the Andes, with the wind whipping and the candles flickering, he swears that every now and then he can't tell whether he's hearing a woman or the wind. Nali Ba. This is based on an urban legend, Nali Ba, from the city of Bangalore during the 1990s. It is believed that a witch used to haunt Bangalore before it was urbanized like it is today. According to the popular belief, a witch used to roam around the city at night and knock on random doors. She used to call the name of the person inside in the voice of a known person, and if the victim would open the door, he or she would die. This horrifying tale had spread like wildfire and had struck the city with sheer panic. People then came out with an apparent solution by which they would write Nali Ba which the meaning is come tomorrow, on the house doors. It was believed that the witch would leave the door without knocking or calling after reading the words, only to come the next day and the same would repeat. There are a lot of variations to this story. Popular legend, which features prominently in across India, Nali Ba, has been found written on walls of small towns and villages for years. Villagers write this on their walls to prevent an entry of a spirit into their homes. It is believed a malevolent spirit roams at night and takes away children. In some variations, people used to believe that a witch roams around the houses, calls the person's name, and knocks on the door, particularly which has not had written Nali Ba. If he or she replies, that person would die by vomiting blood. And another variation. The spirit is believed to be a bridal ghost who roams around the town in search of her husband. She is known to take away the man of the house, who is often the sole earner member of the family, therefore bringing bad luck to the entire household. The myth, but there is a lot of truth to it, is a spirit roams the streets in the night and knocks on the door. The witch apparently speaks in voices of your kin, so you would be deceived to open the door. If you open it, then you will die. So the residents came up with a smart idea of writing Nali Ba outside the doors and the walls of their house. So when the ghost reads it and goes back to come again the next day, and the cycle repeats again. This may be an urban legend, but to this day, people still practice the writing of Nali Ba on the front of their doors. Screaming Jenny. It was an unfortunate lot, but it was the lot of a gentlewoman by the name of Jenny. Alone, penniless, always hungry, often cold, yet still always generous, kind, caring, and cheerful. That was Jenny. At least, that was Jenny until one fateful fall evening. Cold, tired, and hungry, Jenny stooped by her fire, sipping a small bowl of thin broth. She didn't even notice the small spark that jumped from the fire to her skirt. Didn't notice, that is, until the flames ate through her woolen garment and began to scorch her tender skin. By then, it was too late. Though Jenny attempted to douse the flames with what was left of her broth, and though she began to run desperately down the tracks toward the Harper's Ferry station, she was screaming in pain, screaming for help. No one heard her agonizing pleas in time. The flames engulfed her body as she ran. Her screams grew almost inhumane. Pain overcame all her senses. In her terrible confusion, she staggered onto the tracks, a blazing fiery inferno. At just that moment, a train rounded the bend. Though the engineer tried to stop, it was too late. Screaming Jenny gave one last desperate cry. Then a terrible silence fell. When the train finally did grind to a halt, the engineer climbed out and began to run back down the tracks towards Jenny. He was joined by crew from the station who had been alerted by his whistle. When they reached Jenny's still dead body, they found it still burning. Jenny was given a pauper's funeral and buried in an unmarked grave. Her name and her life would have been quickly forgotten, but for one thing. A month later, a train rounded that very same bend where Jenny had died, and there she was. Again, the engineer could not stop in time. Again, the train plowed viciously over the flaming body. Again, the engineer ran back to look for his victim as soon as he could bring his great iron beast to a halt. But this time there was no body to be found. Jenny's ghost had returned to haunt this lonely stretch of track. Again and again, sightings of this ghost has been reported. No one can quench the fire that consumes her ghastly frame. No one can arrest her desperate flight. And no one can stop her haunting screams. I hope you liked today's Odyssey. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. It's free and it helps out. If you do have a topic to recommend, please email me. I'd love to hear from all of you. And remember, don't get caught in the spider's web. Bye, y'all.